Batman Arkham Asylum launched one of the greatest superhero video game series of all time, but its sequel is the one that brought Batman back to Gotham. In a city-sized prison filled with criminals from every prison and jail in Gotham City, Batman faces several of his rogues, as well as a more obscure villain who deserves the spotlight he got. While this game improves on many facets of its predecessor, it does fall short in a few others. But despite that, Batman Arkham City still stands as one of the best superhero video games I have ever played. When Bruce is faced with the terrible personal stakes imposed by the insidious Doctor, he must choose between saving the Clown Prince of Crime or letting him finally pay for all the lives he has taken. Welcome to the Den, friends. I'm Strider Fox, and welcome to my thoughts and feelings, my retrospective on Batman Arkham City.
Imprisoned behind these walls, gang leaders are fighting a bloody war in the middle of our once great city.
No one's who you think they are, my dear. Why spoil the fun?
A better world. Your face.
You of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me.
Look at what you've done.
It's glorious, isn't it? We all know your fate.
Every decision you've ever made ends with death and misery. Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
That actually is pretty funny.
The game opens with a cinematic of some goons breaking into a safe in a place called Arkham City before Selina Kyle, Catwoman, crashes the party and the gang moves right into combat as Selina takes down the thugs. Catwoman then cracks the safe and steals a data chip before Two-Face ambushes her and takes her hostage. We then move to a white screen as a voice that is unfamiliar to most says that he has won and he knows who Batman is. Bruce identifies the voice as a man named Strange before it cuts to a news feed where Bruce Wayne is giving a press talk about the politics of the newly instated Arkham City, only to be jumped by armed guards and dragged into the prison. Hugo Strange tells Bruce that Protocol 10 will be activated, and if he tries to stop him, then Hugo will have to tell the world who the Batman truly is. Bruce tries to break free once he's alone in the room, and takes down a guard, stealing some kind of chip from his walkie-talkie, before being grabbed by another guard and thrown out before a huge group of angry criminals. Bruce moves through the processing section of the opening to Arkham City, running into a famous reporter named Jack Ryder, who is currently being harassed by a group of angry thugs. Batman takes down the criminals while still in cuffs, only to be knocked out by a guy with a pipe and kidnapped by the Penguin. Bruce breaks free of his cuffs and takes out Penguin's goons, but after waking up in an alley. He then climbs up to a rooftop, all of this in a nice three-piece, mind you, which is incredibly impressive. But I guess we shouldn't be too surprised considering we know who Bruce Wayne is. Alfred sends in a drop from the Batwing, and Bruce climbs up to it, opening it and putting on the bat suit as he sets off to find out what exactly Protocol 10 is. Batman uses the chip he stole from the guard, an encryption key, and hacks into the comms of the Tiger Guards, Hugo Strange's personal armed militia. He hears that Dent has Selina Kyle in the courthouse, and that Two-Face intends to kill her. Batman can't let that happen. Besides, she might know what Protocol 10 is. After all, if anyone in Arkham City would know classified information, it'd be Selina. Bruce heads to the courthouse to save her, and this is where we get our first taste of combat as Batman. Now, we did get a taste of combat as Catwoman, but it's not nearly as fun as running around with Batman. The combat feels excellent, a perfect improvement upon what we got in Arkham Asylum. It's smoother than the predecessor of this game, and doesn't feel unfair. There's a lot fewer times while I'll have a moment where I initiate a counter, but I was too slow and got hit anyway. The game's transition of animations is far, far better. I also hardly ever take hits in general that I feel like are anything other than my fault. The animations flowing seamlessly from punch to counter make that so much nicer. The animations for Two-Face as well are incredible. It perfectly encapsulates the duality of this man, the man who wants to do justice and the man who just wants to kill. And the way the cinematography moves back and forth, showing the clean side of Dent's face for the justice side, and then the scarred, brutalized side of his face for the other side. It's almost like they know what they're doing when they're putting together a game. Who knew? Batman saves Selina Kyle from Harvey Dent and his goons, but she tells him that she has no idea what Protocol 10 is. She's not even heard of it. But she does know that Strange was missing for years before he suddenly showed up in charge of this facility. She also heard rumors that he's been working with the Joker. After she says this, Batman saves her from a sniper shot from said Joker. Bruce traces the shot back to a church tower a couple blocks away by using his detective mode to analyze the bullet's trajectory. On his way out of the courthouse, Batman overhears a broadcast from Hugo Strange saying that Protocol 10 will commence in 10 hours. We will get these messages throughout the main game, and they're a lovely way to remind us that Strange is an omnipresent threat and that Protocol 10 needs to be stopped. Arriving at the church, Harley Quinn has several hostages and armed thugs. After Batman tackles her down from her trying to overly dramatically kick him in the face, and failing, she definitely failed, she didn't kick me, no proof, she says the Joker isn't up for a visit right now, and is in fact quite sick. After Harley leaves, Batman drops a smoke bomb, a new piece of gadget gear that was introduced in this game, that will allow for a clean and swift exit by obscuring you. He grapples up to the gargoyles, and then proceeds to take down the thugs stealthily. Now, stealth works just like it did in Arkham Asylum, but extra. You move around without being seen by taking advantage of vantage points up above and grates down below. And even some cover if you want to be sneaky about it, sneak around on the ground. It also introduces loud takedowns, which are quicker animations but will alert the enemies around you. So only use those if you have a clean escape planned before they can get to you. It also introduced double takedowns, where you can take down 2 men at once if they're standing close enough together, which will always be a loud takedown if you do a double takedown, so be wary of that. This game also has a leveling system just like the last one, but it's far, far more upgraded and advanced than the previous game. In this upgrade system, we can upgrade our ballistic as well as combat armor to give us extra health against bullets and hand-to-hand combat respectively. It also has a upgrade menu for gadgets and combat moves, as well as armor and gadgets for Catwoman, because we are playing the Game of the Year edition, which has the Catwoman DLC added onto it, which I will be covering because, you know, it's a part of the main story. But, and I'll say it right now, I will not be covering the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC, just like I won't be covering any other post-game DLCs for the Arkham series. So if you were coming for those, I am very sorry, but I will not be providing those extra post-game DLCs, only the ones that take place during the main campaign. And I have my own reasons for that, so anyway, let's get back to the rest of this. After taking down the thugs, Bruce finds a bandaged and unconscious doctor who seems to have cut off his own face. This guy will be very important, and I'll say it right now, because I forgot to put it in my notes later. If you come back to this building later, you will find the man is gone. But yeah, no, I'm sure this won't be important. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Yes, I did put that in my notes, thank you for asking. Batman also checks with Aaron Cash, who is now a security guard in Arkham City. Cash says that Harley took something up to the tower before blowing the stairs, so Batman will need to grapple up the staircase instead of climbing normally. Climbing up into the tower, Batman finds the shot was fired remotely, and the Joker is not in fact here. Joker taunts Batman over a TV, as he likes to do, before starting a timer, and Batman dives out of the window right before the tower explodes, escaping with a radio signal to track that will lead him right to the Clown Prince. And you know what? Now is a perfect time to talk about Arkham City's design. The level design perfectly captures the gritty, brutalist architecture of Gotham, while being an enclosed space that is very clearly part of Gotham while having its own unique, distinct identity, considering a third of the city is currently sinking into the ocean. It encapsulates the gritty lawlessness of Gotham as well. The city being set in a portion of Gotham always helps with this. And, a fun little side note, if you look out from several high areas of the map, you can see the rest of Gotham outside of the city. The city is full of stuff to do. You can beat up random thugs, complete AR training modules to increase your own personal skill, and also complete various side missions, which I will in fact be covering over the course of the game, aside from Riddler challenges, because screw Riddler challenges. This game does have more incentive, but to do a quick rundown of it, he's kidnapped some people, and in order to save them, you need to solve enough riddles. Solve enough riddles, you'll be able to save a hostage, solve all save for 40 of the riddles, and you'll be able to save all of them and take down the Riddler. That is where I'm going to leave that, because I do not like Riddler challenges. And I went over this in my Arkham Asylum retrospective. The reason I don't like them is because I find them overly tedious. And Arkham City and Arkham Knight are excellent displays of this. Over the entire map, there are 400 Riddler challenges in the base game. 400 things to scavenge and scrounge for in order to complete the side quest. So, I will not be doing it. All of the other side quests, though, well, all of the other bits of side quests that have story, I will be doing. There were 2 side quests that I didn't touch on and I didn't finish because they're not that important. They don't have any story to themselves. They're the AR trainings and the acts of violence, where you just save political prisoners. Another thing you can do out in the city is open your cryptographic sequencer and listen in on chatter from thugs and tiger guards wherever you go. And you will also hear a lot of world-building chatter as you glide over crowds of villains, which is always some nice little extra tidbits to have, and some might even have clues to things you can find. You can also, and this one's my personal favorite Easter egg, find Scarecrow's old mask discarded on a pier on the way to the steel mill, which shows that he did in fact survive getting tackled and mauled by Killer Croc. And I do believe, and I couldn't find it, I do believe in Arkham City you can find a boat that you can hack into using your cryptographic sequencer, and inside you will find Scarecrow's old lab where he's been testing new types of his fear toxin. On the way to find the Joker, Batman notices a distress flare. He sidetracks and investigates it to find it's Bane. Bane tells Batman that the Joker got 12 canisters of Titan off of Arkham Island before Batman stopped him. Bane refuses to have the product of his torture put out on the streets for thugs to use, so they both agree to take 6 canisters each and destroy them. Batman destroys several canisters that he can access throughout the city, but he doesn't have access to all of them right now, so the rest will have to be collected as he moves through the story. Bruce also completes 4 AR gliding challenges, which unlocks the grapnel boost, which allows him to launch off of ledges if he can grapple up to them for a long enough time, to give him an extra boost while gliding. While out in the city, Batman also hears phones ringing. These are calls from Victor Zsasz, where he will tell a story as Batman races to find another phone, because if he doesn't, Zsasz will kill a hostage that he has. After each one, though, Batman will get a little closer to finding Zsasz. Batman answers the first phone, and Zsasz tells him that he's got a game for him before hanging up. He will not yet get to start tracing Zsasz, but he will get to that later. And I will cover each time that a phone ringed throughout the story to add on to that one, because that's one of the few side quests that I actually ended up doing over the course of the entire game instead of just finishing them off in the post game. Batman destroys another tank of venom before going back to Joker and tracking him to an old steel mill, but every access point is blocked and guarded. So, Bruce being Bruce, goes in through the main chimney tower, as Alfred says it is suicide. But since when did Batman ever listen to Alfred's pleas that the plan is stupid? Ignoring Alfred's complaints, Bruce goes down the chimney and stalks through the steel mill as he sees a huge group of thugs, one of them being very huge and having a singular arm with a hammer, terrorizing the doctor that Harley Quinn took from the church. They drag her to the smelter, as Harley sends some of the other guys to bring in Mr. Freeze for some reason. Harley sees Batman take down some goons and closes off the manager's office to keep him out, so Bruce goes to save the doctor first, then he'll deal with the Joker and Harley later. Batman moves through the steel mill and silently takes down a group of armed thugs to save the doctor. She tells him that Titan turned Joker's blood toxic. Joker and Harley seal them in, so Batman puts a new gadget together, the remote electrical charge. This will allow him to stun enemies at range and activate generators. And I do not recall what I keep writing it as later in my notes. I write it as something different. I think I call it like an electrical gun or something, because that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, new gadget, the remote electrical charge. Batman escapes and takes down the goons that sealed him in before going after Joker? Whatever. Going after Joker, as Strange says it's now 9 hours until Protocol 10. Batman smashes his way into the office after beating up even more thugs, only to find Harley crying over Joker's corpse, and while Batman has his mind preoccupied, the real Joker jumps him from behind and knocks him out. When Batman finally comes to, he finds an IV in his arm, putting Joker's blood into him while he's tied to a chair. Joker says his blood is killing him, and now it's killing Batman. He tells Bruce that he needs to find a cure for the poisoned blood, and just to make sure Batman does this for Joker, and doesn't just let them both die here in Arkham City, Joker has shipped out his blood to hospitals all over Gotham. So, if Bruce wants to save everyone else, he's gonna have to save the Joker. He then kicks Batman out of the window and tells him he will keep in touch. Batman breaks free and pulls the phone that was taped to his chest off of him. And while all this is happening, Catwoman is out doing her thing in Arkham City. She's trying to find a way into Strange's vault so she can, you know, make a lot of money, get rich. But she's gonna need her stuff to do it. So she heads to her apartment and collects her kit, grabbing her caltrops, which will essentially act as batarangs. Enemies that walk over them will fall over stunned, and the bolus, which is also batarang. They both do the same thing, but with different ways. You throw the bolus at people, and that knocks them down, before going to Ivy's lair because she says she needs Ivy's help. Ivy isn't happy with Selina after something she did in the past, so Ivy sicks some mind-controlled goons on her. Because of course she does, it's Ivy, what do you expect from her? After several waves of thugs and climbing up to avoid the toxic spores, Ivy takes Catwoman prisoner, and then we jump back to Batman. And this is actually where we got that whole cutscene of Batman being strapped to a chair. The game transitions to Catwoman after he gets knocked out, but I remembered that scene so well that I wrote all those notes down beforehand. So, well, we covered that one first, but that's how this game goes. The game will swap over between Batman and Catwoman at certain points in the story, whenever it's relevant for the plot. Joker tells Batman on the phone that they need Freeze because Freeze was making a cure, but he's vanished. Batman crushes the phone after taking a SIM card out of it, and fills Alfred in on what's been happening. Batman sets off to find the coldest point in Arkham City, since Freeze needs to stay Sub-Zero, otherwise he will die. Why does he need to stay Sub-Zero, or he will die? That is not my question to answer. I am not the lore guy. Basic synopsis, I guess I kind of am the lore guy with these retrospectives. Anyway, basic synopsis is, he was doing an experiment to save his wife. Experiment went wrong, doused him with freezing chemicals, now his body needs to stay Sub-Zero. That's the short and short of it. Anyway, on Batman's way to Freeze, he encounters another political prisoner, a stranger, who is in danger. Stranger in danger! I can't believe I didn't realize that in my notes until just now. The man says he was working on a signal relay for Strange before he gets sniped dead. Batman sets up a crime scene with his detective vision and follows the bullet's path to find a bullet shell with a very familiar name on it, Deadshot. Deadshot is somewhere in Arkham City. And I did not figure out how to continue this quest until I had to look it up after finishing the game. So if you want to know the rest of Deadshot's quest line, stay till the end. I will be covering it after the main game is over. Getting back on Freeze's trail, Batman comes to the old GCPD building, where Victor is probably using an old forensics lab. Bruce takes out the armed thugs outside and uses his electrical gun to get into the building, but before he can actually enter the building proper, a phone rings. Bruce goes out, answers the phone, and tells him he's got 3 hostages, but first Batman needs to find another phone out in the city. Bruce quickly gets to the phone while Zsasz tells him some of his backstory, and Bruce traces the call. But the call ends before Bruce can complete the tracing. Batman returns to the GCPD building and finds one of Penguin's radios. Batman hacks into the radio to listen in on Penguin's communications, before finally going into the building after Freeze. Bruce clears out more of Penguin's men who have heart rate monitors that will alert Cobblepot when they get knocked out. When there is one guy left, he surrenders, allowing for an interrogation, a new bit added to certain stealth sections in this game that was not present in Arkham Asylum. The Goon tells Batman that Freeze is in the museum under Cobblepot's watch. After the interrogation, Bruce knocks him out and then hears explosives outside. When he tries to leave, Penguin locks the building on him, holding him in. Batman fills Alfred in on the new developments as he hacks into a console to escape. Hacking consoles works differently in this game than it did in Arkham Asylum. Where in Arkham Asylum you had to find the right frequency to explode them, in this game you need to find a password to unlock them. Now, mechanically they function exactly the same, adjusting the 2 sticks to find the right points. But instead of doing frequencies, you're finding passwords, which I personally think is a lot cooler. Finally getting outside, Batman sees Penguin's goon have blown the bridges leading to the building, but that won't slow Bruce down as he just glides over them to the museum. Passing the church, Batman hears chatter that Cash and his team have gone missing. Hugo says to leave them to die, but Batman sidetracks to investigate, and this is where the Riddler mission starts. So I already explained what happens, basics of it. I'm not going to touch on that anymore. Screw the Riddler challenges. They can go suck a jellyfish. This game also introduced Riddler agents who will glow green, and they are always mixed into some kind of encounter, whether it be a melee encounter or predator encounters. And the goal here is to take everyone out except them. Then you can interrogate them and learn the locations of Riddler challenge pieces in the area where you interrogated them, which are very useful for people who want to 100% the game and do the Riddler challenges. I don't, but I still did the interrogations anyway because I felt like it was a fun challenge to impose upon myself to try and leave one specific person alive. Or awake, rather. Batman doesn't kill them, but let's be real, they're not waking up. Not after what he does to them. On his way to the museum, Batman answers another call from Zsasz and makes more progress on the phone tracing before Zsasz hangs up on him again. But, luckily, he's now only 1 block away from his destination. Batman finally gets into the museum and encounters his first knife-wielding enemy. Now, these guys are quite lovely. They add another extra little bit of challenge, but they do function a little differently than they did in Arkham Asylum. In Arkham Asylum, you had to stun them with your cape in order to be able to attack them. In this game, you don't need to do that. But luckily, there's an upgrade you can get where if you dodge a full combo of knife swings by holding down the counter button only when the swing is happening and releasing in between attacks, then you'll actually be able to do a takedown, knocking them out instantly. And I did that several times, but it was really hard to get the timing right. But when you did, God, it was so cool. Batman takes down the knife thugs and tries to hack into the systems, only for his signal to be blocked from the Batcave. With the signal jammed, he needs to leave and destroy whatever's jamming them. And I'll go ahead, I'll say it outright, this was cheap padding. It was really frustrating. You spend all this time, you get to Joker, he sends you to go find Freeze. You go find Freeze at the GCPD. Oh no, he's not there. Okay, you go to the museum. You walk into the museum, immediately you have to leave because you need to go destroy Jammer so you can get back into the museum and actually go after Freeze. It was really frustrating. Definitely a low point. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to put the Jammer section there. But they did. And that leaves Batman, he just got in the museum, to immediately leave and glide around the city to destroy the 3 jammers. Batman destroys the first 2 jammers on rooftops before he has to go underground for a third in the subway. Down in the old tunnels, Batman overhears some thugs talking about some ancient guy Penguin found under the Iceberg Lounge called Solomon Grundy. I'm sure that won't be important either. That's foreshadowing, by the way. He also destroys another Titan canister on the way down. After a short Predator section, Batman destroys the last jammer so he can finally go back to the museum. On the way out, Batman unlocks a Gotham story, which are small tales of things going on in the world of the Arkham games, whether in the present or the past, and tied to certain characters or certain events in general. They are found next to the character bios, which are another piece of unlockables that you get by completing Riddler challenges or story beats throughout the game. And character bios are just like they were in Arkham Asylum. They are little bits of background on characters that are present in the game or the game's world. All neat to look at, but I didn't really actually look at them over this game because I honestly forgot they were there. But they're still neat collectibles nonetheless, and if you care about that extra lore, you will really enjoy the stories and character bios. On his way out of the subway, Batman hears about a murder victim that has been found who had his face removed via some sort of surgery. Batman makes a detour to check it out. He finds the man fits the MO of someone the Gotham City has deemed the identity thief, who has killed 3 other people outside of Arkham City already in this exact same manner. The victim had his face wrapped in bandages and was bleeding profusely before his death. Batman deduces that the victim's blood would also be on the killer, which, makes sense. You stab somebody, their blood gets on you. He trails the DNA trail to a political prisoner who says he just saw the body get dumped, but the killer looked like Bruce Wayne, and this account disturbs Batman. According to the prisoner, the killer looked cut up and beaten. Batman stays alert for any new victims. And I'll say this, just like with Deadshot, I did not figure out how to continue this questline until I had to look it up after finishing the main game, so stay tuned for the end of the video to also see the end of the Identity Thief quest. Batman answers another Zsasz call and gets a third of the way to tracing him before he's forced to finally return to the museum and get Freeze. Getting to the museum, Batman gets jump scared by an animatronic dinosaur after disabling the security gate. Bruce then saves an imprisoned GCPD officer named Jones, who tells him a secret code to confirm his identity. Apparently, Gordon had disobeyed Batman and sent in a strike team to hopefully figure out what exactly is going on in the city. The man says that he was in a team of 10 and Batman sets off to find the other 9 members of the strike team somewhere within the museum in the Iceberg Lounge. Batman sees another officer get shot and killed as he enters an arena set up by the Penguin, who then taunts Batman, and Batman says the Penguin is going down for what he's done. Cobblepot says he wants to put Batman in a display case and sticks a huge horde of inmates on him while being guarded by a one-armed Russian who, spoiler alert, is the twin brother of the Hammer guy we saw at the steel mill. Batman takes down the horde of enemies in a brutal free-flow fashion while also facing down a Titan thug halfway through. Looks like Penguin somehow got his hands on some of that Titan after the Arkham Asylum incident, which doesn't bode well for us. Who knows how many other Titan thugs he has at his disposal. Penguin gets away with his Russian bodyguard and one of the cops, but Batman breaks out of the arena and goes after them while Oracle joins in. Batman tells Alfred to fill Barbara in on what's been going on as he moves through the museum. He gets to a massive frozen room where Penguin shoots him with an ice gun, and then freezes an officer on the thin sheet of ice covering the water that has flooded this room. Batman moves across the frozen water, saving a few cops along the way as he dodges Penguin's pet shark. Because yes, Oswald Cobblepot has a pet shark. For some reason. Why? He's rich, why not? Unfortunately, when Batman finally gets to the Iceberg Lounge, he has no way to get past the ice gun that Penguin has. So, he needs to set out to find Freeze to find a way to get past Freeze's technology. Batman finally finds Mr. Freeze in a Hawaii-themed display, which is such a Cobblepot thing to do. Stick the frozen man in a beach-themed display case. Unfortunately, Batman can't talk to Freeze at the moment, and is forced to find a way to get him out of the display case before he can learn how to get past Freeze's technology. When Batman tries to find a way to get Freeze free, say that 10 times fast, he gets ambushed by Penguin's Russian, a man named Abramovich, which that's his last name. He and his brother, the Abramovich twins. And I never ended up writing in my notes, so I'm going to put a little side note down here. The Abramovich twins were conjoined twins. Their missing arms were where their bodies were connected. And I don't remember exactly who paid for their surgery. It might have been Joker, or it might have been Penguin. I don't know. But one of the Abramovich twins serves Penguin and one serves Joker. Batman destroys a tank of Titan in another room after taking down the Abramovich and the other Penguin thugs, before finally freeing the Sub-Zero scientist. Batman tries to get the cure from Freeze, but Freeze wants his stuff back. Bruce threatens Victor for a way to get past the ice gun, while pouring out some of this vial that I assume is used to help keep Freeze's body Sub-Zero when outside of his suit. Freeze tells Batman that he had built in a security override into the suit in case somebody tried to use his technology against him, so Batman sets off to find the suit somewhere else in the museum and get the override chip. Batman overhears Penguin torturing one of his captive cops on the way, which is a perfect, absolutely deliciously evil way to drive home the fact that this is an urgent matter and that lives are still at stake. I love when games do these little things, just things you hear as you move through, to remind you, hey, pick up the pace, people's lives are in danger. When, granted, yes, they are scripted sequences. There's no way you could have prevented whatever happened. But it's a great way to get your blood boiling. Batman encounters a new threat in the next Predator section, because some thugs now use thermal goggles and will see Batman hiding up in the dark vantage points, which will mean Bruce needs to be more creative with his methods of clearing these rooms out. You won't be able to stay up in your vantage points. You'll need to mix that in with ground takedowns and hiding in vents. But I will say there is an upgrade you get in the level up menus where people will be able to look right at you if they have if they have the thermal goggles when you're on a vantage point, but if you stay perfectly still, they won't see you. Which kind of negates the whole purpose of the game forcing you to be creative. But you don't even have access to that upgrade until after your first run-in with thermal goggle guys, which means at least this one, you need to be careful. Using a delightful mix of silent takedowns, batarangs, exploding walls, and perch takedowns, Batman saves the 3 cops that were being held hostage in this room and gets the override chip from Frieza's suit. With the override chip in hand, Bruce plugs it into a device that he had waiting, and now he has a new piece of tech that will get him past the freeze weapon. It will allow him to remotely disable the weapon, which this gadget can also be upgraded to remotely disable all firearms. Well, firearms of any kind, but not all in general. You only get up to 2 charges of it. But it will be another tool you have in your disposal to take care of predator sections. Batman rafts across the thawing ice room, beating down Penguin's shark each time it tries to eat the raft, before finally getting back to the lounge, circling around behind Cobblepot and disabling the ice gun. Now this part was weird and confusing, because Cobblepot would always see me, no matter how I tried to move, whether I used a smoke grenade, or crouched down, or what have you, he would always see me. And I thought I needed to lose his attention, and then sneak up behind him, and use the weapon to disable, or use my gadget to disable his weapon. Because that's kind of how it framed that I was supposed to do it, but no. What you're supposed to do is wait for him to finish firing, and then move from cover to cover to get around behind him, and then just walk up to him and he'll gloat and give you the option. So then Batman, holding the gadget behind his back, he disables the ice gun and then takes down Penguin. Which is, apparently that's what you're supposed to do. That's not how it looked like. So that part was not very intuitive. Kind of went against what the game had, conditioned me to think. Especially considering Batman says that weapon is too powerful for him to deal with head on. Which in these games conditions you to think, oh, I need to be stealthy, I need to sneak up behind him. No, you just need to let Penguin be Penguin, I guess. Regardless, after taking him down, Penguin sets off an explosion that drops Batman into a pit with the undead monster of a man, Solomon Grundy. And here is our first boss fight of Batman Arkham City. And let me tell you right now, save for really one boss fight, they're either kind of okay or just mindlessly bad. And they're not like hard. None of the boss fights are hard. But except for one that we'll get into that I'll sing the praises of, this boss fight, the next boss fight, and the last boss fight. The last boss fight was kind of okay, but this one and the next one are piss easy, mindless. So, let's get into it, shall we? Enough complaining, and let's actually get down into what it consists of. This boss fight is several phases where you need to disable the electro pads that are powering Solomon Grundy to stun him before dealing damage to him. The first time, you need to use the quick fire explosive gel, which, granted, this was the first time I ever actually used the quick fire explosive gel in any of these games, save for the last time I played this game because it's required. But it made that quick fire gadget useful, because that's the only way to beat the boss. Anyway, you use it to blow up the shock pads when they're open, which they stay open for the first phase. Then, when you blow all 3 of them up, you beat Solomon Grundy down. The second time, the pads are delayed because now they're damaged, so you can only get one at a time instead of going boom, 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 because now you have to blow one up, dodge Solomon Grundy's attacks, which you cannot hit him, there is no way to damage him, just dodge his attacks, and then go to the second one, blow it up, keep dodging the swinging chain balls, and then do the same thing for the third one, and then beat him down again. After the second time, Solomon Grundy uses one of his chain balls to smash his way into the generator to deliver a constant stream of electricity into him, and you're never gonna believe how you beat him. That's right! You dodge his attacks, blow up the electrical panels, dodge his attacks, blow up electrical panel, dodge his attack, blow up electrical panel. Yep, it is the exact same thing 3 times, except the second 2 times you have delays between each one. You see what I mean by it's not a very good boss? But, regardless, after doing that for a 3rd time, Batman beats down Grundy and then punches his fist through Grundy's heart, finally putting down the undead monstrosity and ending this mindless, pitiful excuse of a boss fight. I really don't like it. With Grundy's heart destroyed and Solomon Grundy himself out of commission, Penguin decides he's gonna jump down here and finish off Batman himself. Because of course, if Batman was able to beat the big hulking 4 times his size monstrosity, surely Penguin stands a chance with a rocket launcher. You would think. Said absolutely no one. Batman dodges the rocket launchers and beats the ever-loving hell out of the Penguin. For good this time. Knocked him out. We're done dealing with him. Batman drags Penguin to a suited-up Mr. Freeze, who insists on dealing with the Penguin himself. But Batman says no and puts Penguin in one of his own display cases. Then Freeze tells Batman that there is no cure, because it degrades far too fast for it to be viable. He shows Batman an enzyme that could stabilize the cure, but it needs to be bonded to human DNA for it to work. And with no amount of this enzyme bonded to human DNA, there's no way to make the cure. But Batman recognizes the enzyme and knows it's the active agent in something called a Lazarus Pit. That's right, we're dealing with Ra's al Ghul next. The Lazarus Pits. Now, Ra's al Ghul is one of the coolest Batman villains. If anyone's ever seen Batman Begins, he was the main villain of that movie. And now Ra's al Ghul is an interesting character because he is centuries upon centuries old and uses these mystical yet scientific pits of this fluid called Lazarus to revive himself each time, but at the cost of some of his mental fortitude, eventually driving him insane. Batman knows that if he can find Ra's al Ghul's body, he can take some of his DNA, some of his blood or something, and use this bonded enzyme with Mr. Freeze to develop a cure. Just as he says this, a trapped assassin from Ra's al Ghul's order breaks out of her own display case and escapes, leaving a blood trail for Bruce to follow. Batman scans the blood using his detective vision as he fills Oracle in on what's been going on. She's hesitant because Talia's obviously going to be involved in this, and Batman doesn't exactly have the best track record when Talia's involved. Guess they had a relationship in this universe, which is fun. They're one of my favorite couples, even though they never end up working out. On his way out, Batman orders a drop for the line launcher from Alfred. Coming to the end of the blood trail, Batman scans some discarded bandages only to get ambushed. Batman chases down the assassin and then plants a tracker on her back discreetly, before she eventually escapes. Batman then gets pinned by 2 other assassins, so the other one can get a chance to leave, but Robin drops in to help out Batman. But Batman calls Robin off, so that ends up letting all the assassins get away. Robin says Alfred sent him in because he was worried, but Batman sends Tim Drake back into Gotham, because someone needs to stay out there. But he sends him back with a sample of his blood so they can try and track down all of the infected blood sent out to the hospitals. Robin gives Bruce the line launcher in return before returning to Gotham City. Now, the line launcher makes its return from Arkham Asylum And it's pretty much a portable zipline. As long as you can connect 2 points forward and back, you can zip across. But in this game, it has some added benefits. You can also fire off the line launcher while you're using it to change which angle you're going or which direction. And with an upgrade later, you can even use it to set up a tightrope to, be able to take down people and move across the darkness even better. Batman activates the tracker he put on Raish's assassin to follow her. Dropping down into the underground tunnels, Batman makes his way to a place called Wonder City. And on the way, Strange says it is now 5 hours till Protocol 10. Before arriving in Wonder City, Batman passes through collapsed city streets and he starts to waver. Joker's blood is starting to actively kill him. Batman notices Joker is sending thugs down here to steal the high-end military equipment from the Tiger Guards, and Batman eventually comes to an underground section of Wonder Tower itself and saves a lady from Joker's armed guards before taking the men down himself. The nurse says she was drugged and dragged into the city to help cure the Joker, most likely. Batman realizes, as he's taking down the thugs, Strange is supplying Joker with equipment. They're not here stealing it, they're here being given it. Batman destroys the tank of Titan in the room as well, leaving the only tank left in the steel mill in an area he couldn't access beforehand. Batman eventually comes to a massive door before falling to his knees and coughing up blood just before actually getting into Wonder City. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what actually is Wonder City? Well, I'll tell you. Wonder City is an abandoned attempt at a futuristic utopian Gotham, where automated sentries would roam the streets and people would never have to live in fear of criminals again. The city, what's left of it, exists buried deep under Gotham City's own streets, empty and lifeless, with the only mark of its existence being Wonder Tower, the tall spire looming over the center of Arkham City. Wonder City is built on top of a Lazarus pit as well, that was used to fuel the attempted utopia. Batman takes down a few assassins as he enters Wonder City before coming to a door that he cannot open. He scans the mechanical guards around the place to use their linked up security systems to hopefully find out how the assassins were getting in. Batman eventually finds a secret entrance used by the assassins and unlocks it with one of their swords when one tries to ambush him. As he moves towards the lair of the assassins, Strange says that Protocol 10 will commence in 4 hours. We're running out of time fast. As Batman climbs to the door to Raish's lair, he collapses and sees a bright light as he hears his parents' voices beckoning him inward, before it fades, and he gets back up. Oracle says his vitals are dropping fast, and he has barely minutes left. Bruce stumbles forward, coughing and weak, and it even shows in our health bar that he's dying, as our maximum health is greatly reduced. And it's one of my favorite things to see in game mechanics, when changes in the story affect the game mechanics. Like, for instance, in this case, Batman is actively dying, so our max health is far lower. They're always a fun and creative way to reflect the changes in the story on the player's active experience, more so than just showing things happening in the world or telling people that things are happening. Batman enters the Chamber of the Demon, where Talia stops one of her assassins from executing him. Talia says that a true successor can be the only one to stand before her father. She sees Bruce's face as she lifts up the cowl and stumbles back in shock. He lowers his cowl and he plays her, saying he's ready to take his place at her side. So Batman takes on the trial of the demon. Batman hears the voice of Raish, who says to drink from the chalice. Batman does so, and is plunged into a dream state, where he glides after a specter of Raish to complete the first trial. And this is the lead-up to the Ra's al Ghul fight, where you have to follow him without touching any of the terrain in between each glide. And if you're not good at the gliding at all, in any case, then this is going to be absolute hell. But it's not that hard. I honestly wish there was a little bit more challenge to it, but I know that's mostly left over for the AR challenges as far as hard gliding missions. Bruce glides across the dreamscape, occasionally fighting off assassins, before finally coming to a boss fight with Ra's al Ghul himself after leaving the first trial. Now this boss fight, this is the second trial of the demon, and this one is just, it's kind of okay. It's still not really that great. Batman finds Ra's, a crippled, decaying man, who says that Bruce needs to kill him, but he refuses. And after the refusal to kill Ra's al Ghul a second time, when Talia comes in and tries to convince him, Batman watches as Ra's drops himself into the Lazarus pit, reviving himself to full strength and attacking Batman. Batman is plunged back into the dream world for this boss fight. Phase 1 consists of fighting off a few assassins before doing the rounds around the arena, shooting Ra's al Ghul repeatedly with the electric pulse gun while trying to get the shot between the shields of fake assassins that he puts up. And you have to dodge the waves of blades that he sends out during this phase and the occasional throw of shurikens. But it's not that hard at all. After completing this first phase, Batman parries off a flurry of Ra's attacks before he takes the sword and holds it to Ra's neck. Talia, during this, preaches the plan of succession for the assassins, preaching that this is Batman's place at her side with his foot on Ra's neck. But Batman once again refuses to kill Ra's al Ghul. Phase 2 takes place right after this and is a near exact repeat of Phase 1, save for more assassins to deal with, smaller windows to hit Ra's with your electric gun, and he will also occasionally swing his massive sword down on top of you to hit you. And the second half of the phases is so piss easy that if you get hit, that's kind of on you. Like, you shouldn't be getting hit. Phase 2 ends with Batman beating Ra's down and taking the blade back. Ra's then takes his daughter hostage as he tells Batman that he will kill Ra's al Ghul and lead the assassins, or Ra's will kill Talia. Batman proceeds to drop the sword and reprogram his Batarang to give it a reverse ability before throwing it so it doubles back around and hits Ra's in the back of the head. And this was the only time I used the reverse Batarang. I actually don't even know if it got added to the rest of my gadgets and I just missed it, or if it was only for this one sequence. So I can't really speak on its usefulness, if it has any usefulness. Batman knocks Ra's down and takes the blood sample from him as Talia storms out of the room as she's mad at both of them. After all, her father did try to use her as a hostage, and the man she loves completely betrayed her trust, all in an effort to get to her father. Which is pretty par for the course when it comes to Batman and Talia. That's pretty much just them. They never end up getting along. They're a great couple if they could ever see eye to eye on things. In fact, if they could ever see eye to eye on things, the assassins would be unstoppable. Batman says to Ra's that he needs to call off his crusade after Ra's al Ghul admits that he's used the pit so many times that a little bit of him is left behind each time, and he's scared of what will come out if he uses it again. With the command for Ra's al Ghul to end his crusade, or Batman will come back to take down Ra's al Ghul himself, Batman leaves the Chamber of the Demon and fills in Oracle on everything that just transpired, and the fact that he is about to head back up to the surface with the Lazarus chemical. He says he's done here, and he will investigate Ra's further when he's finished with all of Arkham City, Oracle then patches in Robin, and Robin says that people all over Gotham have already taken the infected blood. Bruce says he is on his way to Freeze to get the cure made. And now, with the two boss fights over, it's really clear. Well, the first two boss fights over, it's really clear that the bosses are a very big low point for this game and were probably made... something tells me they devoted as little resources to the boss fights as possible just so they could flesh out the rest of the game. Because the rest of the game is really well made. It's just the boss fights, save really for the next one, that are just kind of bad. Which is extra funny considering the next boss fight is considered one of, if not the best boss fights in the Arkham games. On his way out of Wonder City and passing through the subway system, Batman takes down more of Joker's goons as Strange comes over the PA and says it's 2 hours until Protocol 10. The melee combat gets another fun piece of hurdle to deal with in the form of riot shields, which you have to stun and jump over enemies to take them down, as they will block any and all attacks coming at them without them being distracted. Escaping onto the surface, Hugo Strange announces that Mayor Quincy Sharp has been brought into the city, and Strange urges those familiar with him to, quote, give him a warm welcome. Batman goes after Sharp to find out how Strange even managed Arkham City and how he managed to get Sharp into this place if he was supposed to be working with him. Batman saves Quincy from a group of thugs and then interrogates him. The mayor says that Strange had friends in powerful places who could help him as long as Sharp turned a blind eye to his work. Sharp has no idea who his friends are or where they came from, and Bruce fills Barbara in on what he's learned from Quincy as she mentions his vitals are spiking again. He says he needs to hunt down Strange's friends, but Oracle continues to urge him to get the blood sample to Freeze first. Bruce finds a message from Officer Jones on his way back to GCPD that they have something in the museum for him if he wants it. So Batman makes a detour over to the museum and gets the optional gadget upgrade for the disruptor gun, allowing him to remote detonate mines. And I wrote in my notes that this will definitely come in handy later. I only ended up dealing with mines in a single Predator challenge, and it was useful in that challenge. But after that, I didn't even have to deal with them. I did run into them in another challenge, but I don't even think I used this disruptor upgrade on them. But they were only in like 2 Predator sections I can think of. Bruce dodges Joker's gunmen as he moves in, and takes out a group of thugs outside the GCPD building as Joker calls his men back and sends Harley Quinn out to the building. Batman gets inside and gives Victor the blood. Freeze finishes the cure, only to destroy one of the 2 vials. He demands Batman bring him Nora from Joker's clutches, and he seals the other vial in the safe. Batman is forced to face off against Freeze in the best boss fight in this game and arguably one of the best in the entire series. Now, with this boss fight, you need to stun Mr. Freeze and then do several beatdowns on him to break through his armor. But each time you use some advantage to get a takedown on Freeze, he removes that advantage from you, leaving you to find another one to capitalize on to take him down. As Bruce beats on Freeze, he hallucinates it's the Joker, but behind that frozen glassy mask. Batman goes to get the cure from the safe, only to find that Harley has taken it through the wall during the fight. Freeze gives Batman the ice bomb to help him get to the steel mill, which is now on a lockdown as Bruce promises to save Nora. With this new gadget and time running out, Bruce makes his way to Joker's safe house. Upon leaving the GCPD building, Batman watches as Vicky Vale's chopper is shot down with a rocket launcher. Being the kind, lovable man he is, Bruce goes out to save her from the inmates with sniper rifles. After taking down the inmates, he glides to Miss Vale and grapples her to safety. Joker calls Batman to mock him and Vale, and admits that he was the one that shot down the chopper but it was only to buy Harley time. During this, a madman named Jervis Tetch watches before slinking away. Batman receives a call that Mr. Fox and Alfred have somehow managed to create a cure for him and the people of Gotham, so Bruce sidetracks to the drop-off point to collect it. Batman gets there and takes what he thinks is a cure, but in fact, it knocks him out, and he wakes up at the table of the Mad Hatter. Jervis Tetch says that he planted a small little idea in Bruce's brain, and now that Batman is all his, he can do whatever he wants. The madman babbles before walking across the table and putting a mind control hat on Batman. And this was a really neat little trippy section to deal with. It's mechanically, it's just another combat section, but the visuals of it are delightful, and that's coming from the guy who is heavily biased towards anything Alice in Wonderland themed. Batman fights off Jervis Tetch and his goons along with the control of the hat, and before finally knocking him down, taking him out of the picture and removing the hat, and then escaping Jervis Tetch's lair, stepping over the unconscious bodies of Tetch's men. This little side mission tested my skill in the combat very thoroughly and took me a couple chances to actually get through it, because it's an endless amount of thugs with Jervis Tetch showing up occasionally to get a few hits in. And I will say, as with a lot of things that show up in this game and the next one, Arkham Knight did do it better. But we'll get into that whenever I cover Arkham Knight next time. When Batman makes more progress on tracing Zsasz' calls, before finally getting to the steel mill. When he gets closer, he enters the area where Freeze tracked Nora, so he makes a minor sidetrack away from the steel mill, rescues Nora after finding her in a warehouse and beating down the thugs holding her down, and then he alerts Freeze of Nora's location and that she is safe, before finally going into the steel mill to confront the Joker. When Batman finally gets into the steel mill, security is even beefier than before. Oracle says the only way to get into the building is through the heat exchange on the south end, so that's exactly where Batman goes, taking out the armed thugs that guard the door before slipping in to go after the Joker. Batman destroys the last Titan canister in this room after immediately turning down a hall and entering the steel mill. And for the sake of explaining the side quest, let's jump briefly to what Bruce does with Bane. So, walking it back into the toy company where Bane is based out of, Batman finds Bane has recovered his 6 tanks, and instead of destroying them, he decides that he is going to use them against Batman, claiming that he used Batman to get the excess Titan off the street, and now he's going to break the Bat. But this only happens after an ambush of Tiger Guards that sees Batman and Bane working together to take them down. Bane reveals his plan after that, and then tries to charge right into Batman, who dodges and throws a batarang into a door switch, holding Bane away from the room as he walks over and blows up the remaining Titan canisters, ruining Bane's plan and putting an end to this awesome side quest. It was sort of collect-a-thon-y, but I like this one for the same reason that I hate the Riddler ones. It wasn't tedious. There were only 6 canisters you needed to find, not 400 of them. So this is, when you're doing a collect-a-thon side quest, this is how you do it right. You do a small amount of them, keep it brief, maybe intermix it between other things. Don't put 400 marks across an entire map to check out. Now, back to what Batman's doing in the steel mill. He slinks his way through the cooling tunnels using the ice bombs to create movable rafts, as Oracle calls and says Gordon was called into City Hall, where Strange is requesting authorization to activate Protocol 10, a failsafe he made in case he can't stop the use of illegal weapons inside his prison-sized city, or city-sized prison. Batman sees a message from the Joker as he moves through, And Joker seems to be feeling a lot better. His sickly complexion is completely gone, and his energy has returned. Oracle says that the city council members all looked horribly unhappy. As Strange says, Protocol 10 will commence in 30 minutes. Sounds like he got the authorization he needed, despite everyone else's words on it. Getting out of the tunnel, Batman gets jumped by the doctor he saved earlier as she swings a bat into him, but he blocks it and she apologizes, saying she thought it was Joker's men. She says that Joker and his goons have been setting up mines in the next room. These can hinder your movement across the ground during Predator sections, but with the previously mentioned gadget upgrade, you can detonate them remotely. And which is also a great way to take down enemies when you actually put the mines in the Predator sections instead of just saving them for 2 specific instances. I am a little salty about that. I wish they were used a lot more. Batman clears out the first mine-filled room as Strange announces 20 minutes till Protocol 10. Bruce finds Harley tied up and gagged, and she mentions that they have freeze tech in the boiler room, after saying that she definitely won't give away the fact that they have freezes tech in the boiling room. So Batman sidetracks down to the boiling room to collect it. After this detour and taking down a group of thugs, Batman picks up the cluster grenade upgrade for the freeze bomb. Now, finally out of sidetracks, Batman returns upwards, moves through the manager's office to confront the Joker. He watches as Joker applies his makeup to his sickly face before turning around to showing he's not sick at all. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, any of you guys who have played Arkham Asylum might know what's going on here. You might have seen it. They already foreshadowed it at the beginning with the fake Joker gag. Spoiler alert. But I won't tell you who this other Joker is, not until the game reveals it itself. Joker comes down and taunts Batman before Bruce has to fight off him and several waves of thugs and the other Abramovich brother. And now if you use your detective vision, you'll see that this Joker has no skeleton. There's your other piece of hint. Those of you that have played Arkham Asylum might already pick up what's going on here. After the fight, the building starts coming down as Protocol 10 is activated and rockets are fired into the building, and Batman gets pinned below some rubble. But before Joker can kill Batman, Talia shows up and offers him a place at her side instead of Batman. She offers the Lazarus Pit to Joker, and he takes it, leaving with Talia as Batman falls unconscious, and Talia presses a little button on her outfit. Now let's go back to Catwoman, see what Selina's up to. Turns out she's still tied up by Ivy and trying to reason with her. She eventually gets through to Ivy to help her by promising to save a rare plant from Strange's vault. Turns out what she did that pissed off Ivy way back when? She didn't water the plants when looking over Ivy's apartment. Way to go, Selina. Catwoman makes her way across the city to the vault, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now, I am not a huge fan of the Catwoman sections. I don't like the combat. It just doesn't feel as good as Batman's does. I also really don't like the traversal. The QTEs used to climb the walls feel so janky, and the whip grappling just feels off. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it does. Catwoman slips into the sewers and uses the tunnel Ivy's plants made to get into the vault, moving through a breached wall. Now, in order to get into the vault, Selina needs 3 security cards in order to open the door, which she pickpockets off of 3 tiger guards into the next room without being seen. And this one sounded daunting. This task sounded really difficult when it just outright says it to you, but it was actually ridiculously easy, as all 3 guards stay far away from each other and hidden by cases of stuff. Not to mention, Selina can also crawl across the ceiling to just move above everyone else's line of sight with ease. With the 3 cards, Selina returns to the security room and opens the vault, but that alerts the guards, so Catwoman has to take them all out silently. As she clears out the guards, Strange activates Protocol 10 in the city above them, targeting first the steel mill to wipe out Joker and Batman all at once. Catwoman finds Ivy's orchid and destroys it as payback for getting tied up for several hours, before grabbing her briefcases of money and taking down another ambush of Tiger Guards. Catwoman overhears that Batman is confirmed down as she leaves the vault. She's given two options. She can either leave with the money, leave Arkham City, and leave Batman to die, or she can stop and save Batman. And interestingly enough, if you choose to leave early, you get an early ending where she walks off into the night with her prize, and over the credits we hear Oracle calling out to anyone who can help that Joker and his army have overrun the city. Batman is dead. Everyone is dead. And we would know it's all Catwoman's fault. But that's not how this goes. Despite what she would love to admit, she cares about Bruce way too much to let him die. She drops the briefcases and runs to the steel mill to save Bruce. She pushes the rubble off of him, and they both talk for a minute about Protocol 10 before she leaves to collect her stuff, and Batman sets off to stop Strange as he bombs Arkham City. Leaving the collapsing steel mill, Bruce tells Oracle to shut down Strange's operation while he goes after Talia. Oracle and Alfred both convince him to do it himself because Batman needs to save Gotham. One life can wait for 1,000. Bruce grapples up to the choppers that are circling over the city and firing down on them, going one by one until he finds and steals the access codes he needs. With the security codes downloaded, Batman heads down into Wonder Tower through the processing area. Batman saves a few prisoners when entering into the processing area from several Tiger Guards with stun sticks, a new addition that will cause Batman to take damage if he attacks them head on, but jumping over them and attacking from behind will do the trick. Strange comes on over the screen and uses a hostage to keep Batman still as guards swarm in around him. He says that Batman causes his villains by giving them the environment they need to thrive, and that he will take his place at his master's side and will rule the world before he tells the guards to kill the Batman. Strange says Batman cannot stop the inevitable as Bruce continues onward to Strange after taking out the entire huge horde of guards that had just flooded the room. Batman comes back out to the room at the base of Wonder Tower, clears out the Tiger Guards using stealth, and this was the only other instance I can think of where the mines played a part, before hacking into the systems and taking the elevator up the tower. Hugo taunts Batman as he climbs, and promises to kill every single criminal in the city before going after Bruce's family and killing every single one of them. A group of guards stands ready to kill Batman when he leaves the elevator. So, what does Batman do? He grapples up out of the elevator, moves around over them, drops down, and takes them all out from behind. Because of course he does. He's Batman. Batman continues his ascendance of Wonder Tower, climbing around from the outside of it, as Hugo is surrounded by his guards in a bulletproof room at the very top, and his people fire at the museum. Batman finally gets to the top of Wonder Tower where Strange is holed up, and Batman proceeds to spend the next several minutes systematically moving around the open room, taking down the guards, as Hugo himself calls out each time he sees Batman, which sends guards to swarm to his location. A delightful step up in the difficulty of this Predator challenge. Would have been made even better if they had minds. Batman finally takes down the last guard and opens up the chamber, before beating up Strange as Oracle shuts down the tower. Strange marvels at the destruction he has caused, before, after preaching that this is the right path, that he will rule the world next to his master, he is stabbed from behind by his master, who reveals himself to be Ra's al Ghul himself. Ra's explains that Strange has failed his plan after everything he gave him. Batman tries to save Strange, saying Ra's that the man needs a doctor, but Ra's just ignores him. He's failed. There's no more reason for him to worry about Hugo Strange, and Ra's marvels at the destruction, that his plan is working perfectly. But then, that's when Strange hits them with a secret Protocol 11 passcode Wayne, and the tower explodes, killing Hugo as Batman and Ra's jump out the window. But Ra's impales himself on his own sword before falling and being stabbed downward onto the spiked gate outside the tower. Batman glides to safety and tells Oracle that he's fine, that it's over, and now he's going after Talia. He's going to follow the tracer that Talia put on her suit. Batman follows the tracker all the way to the old theater, and after clearing out the snipers Joker has set up around the outside of the building, he moves in. Batman finds Joker on the stage and tries to reason with him, which is always going to be a futile attempt, trying to reason with the Clown Prince of Crime. That man doesn't know reason. But Talia breaks free and stabs Joker in the back after yoinking the cure from him. Batman figures out, he puts the whole plan together in his head, that this Joker, this is wrong. This isn't Joker. Once again, he's fallen for the fake Joker gag, as he realizes that the man before him is in fact Clayface. And before he can say it though, the Clown Prince of Crime, the real one, shoots Talia dead as the cure rolls to the hand of the fake Joker. Joker demands the cure, but the fake Joker grabs it and reveals himself truly to be Clayface, and Carlo reveals that he is only here for the role of a lifetime. And the final boss fight begins. The first phase consists of pelting Carlo with ice grenades while dodging his attacks before slicing him up with Talia's sword. Phase 2 has you guiding his roll attack into the explosives littered around the room before slicing him up with the sword because he's taken so much damage from the ice grenades that they freeze him solid. I do like that finally Phase 2 is different from Phase 1, and you need a different strategy to win. After slicing Carlo to bits, Joker blows out the floor, dropping Bruce and Clayface into the Lazarus Pit room, and Phase 3 begins, where Batman slices through the mini Clayfaces while throwing ice bombs into Carlo's face when he rises up from his mud puddle. Bruce slices up Clayface one more time after jumping into him, taking the cure and slicing his way out. He drinks enough of it to cure himself before destroying the pit, before Joker can use it, causing a massive explosion. Bruce gets up, and Joker begs for the cure. Batman contemplates the cycle, but when Joker jumps Batman and stabs him in the shoulder, causing Bruce to drop and destroy the cure, that is when we really learn exactly what Batman thinks of the Joker, and we get the best interaction in this whole game, arguably one of the best in the series, where Batman asks if Joker wants to know something really funny, and he says after everything Joker is done, all the people he's killed, all the pain he's caused, Bruce still would have saved him. Joker dies laughing, admitting that it is pretty funny. Batman carries his body out of the theater as inmates surround and watch, and then cops storm the city as Batman walks out and lays the dead body of the Clown Prince on Gordon's car before gliding away. And the game ends. But even so, that's not the end of my coverage of Arkham City. Because while, yes, the main campaign is over, there's still more to cover. And because we have a lot of leftover cases to solve. So, Batman returns to Arkham City to clean up in the post-game. But before we get to that, and granted I don't have footage of this, I forgot to record it, I'm going to do a brief cover over after the credits, before we actually get the chance to play as Batman in the post-game Arkham City. We have to do a stint of Catwoman again, where she goes to retrieve her stuff from her apartment, but it explodes. She beats up Two-Face's thugs, they say Two-Face has his stuff, so she goes to the museum and does a stealth section as Catwoman, where you have to take down Two-Face while he spawns endless amounts of guards to get rid of her. And then after that, she finally gets her stuff and returns to a vantage point outside of the courthouse, where finally we get to swap back to Batman. And all my complaints of the Catwoman sections from before still stand. And granted, no, I did not level up Catwoman's armor. I did not level up her equipment. You know why? Because those points were better used on Batman. If I had used them on Catwoman to make a fifth of the game easier, I would have been dealing with 4/5 of the game that was harder. Catwoman really should, her health should have leveled up with Batman. That would have made these sections a lot more bearable. Instead of having to have a weaker Batman just so the small amount of sections with Catwoman can be easier. But I still don't like her traversal system. I appreciate having the Catwoman sections. I appreciate what they do for the story. I won't say the story would have been better without them. But the Catwoman sections should have been differently. They shouldn't have been free roam. I feel like they should have been select level to level sections, and then leave the free roam to Catwoman for the post game if you want to gather all the Riddler stuff for her. But granted, I can understand why they didn't do that. A lot of people probably would have been really pissed that they can't just roam the city with Catwoman whenever she shows up for her story to collect Riddler stuff, instead being relegated just to the post game. But Catwoman stuff was a DLC. It was not in the original release. It was bundled into the Game of the Year edition. So, the 40 Riddler trophies that she has, the 40 Riddler challenges for him, were already added onto the game afterwards, along with Catwoman's sections being added on afterwards. It would have been better to leave them as levels. I would have hated them less. But, finally, with Catwoman dealt with, her section's over, we jump back to Batman, and it's time to clean up those loose cases. Now, getting into the extra side quests, I will have to dock a few points because the triggers were very obtuse, and I couldn't figure out how to continue on the case files and had to end up looking it up. But I will also give back a few points because the way you trigger them is very natural. It's not intuitive, but it's natural. And that might sound like a contradiction, so I'll explain myself. You wouldn't think to glide over specific areas of the map to trigger the side quests, but you would naturally be gliding across the city. So if you end up gliding into the right places, it'll trigger the events. The triggers should have been a bit bigger as far as the areas you're gliding through. So it would have made it easier to find them. It would have made a lot more sense. I wouldn't have had to look it up. But they lose a few points from me having to look it up, but they also gain a few points from me being stupid. So I kind of feel like it levels out a bit. So, with that stated, let's get into our cases and handle the first case left over, the cold-blooded killer. Batman finishes tracking Zaz's calls and pins him to a location, a warehouse just north of the steel mill. Slipping in silently, Batman circles around the room as Zaz rambles on to his hostages. And as Batman gets closer, Zaz decides he's going to call Batman one more time. But Batman doesn't answer. And before Zaz can get the chance to kill a hostage for Bruce not answering, Batman slams his fist through the glass, grabs Zaz, and knocks him down. Batman locks Zaz up in one of his own cages and frees the hostages, getting rid of this crazed killer for even just a little bit longer and ending this case. Which leaves the next one, and the next few cases we're going to cover are some of my favorite side quests in the entire series. So what's up next, you might ask? Deadshot with Shot in the Dark. Gliding past the Tri-Corner Naval Building, another shot is picked up by Oracle from Deadshot's weapon. Batman travels to North Arkham to find the victim, who is lying dead on a bridge. He follows the bullet's trajectory while Barbara sees what she can find on the victim. Bruce scans the tripod left behind by Deadshot and finds a bit of lead-based paint left behind that was used many, many years ago, but is only still found in specific areas of the city. Unfortunately, it's too many areas. It narrows down the search, but not enough. Deadshot needs to make another mistake for Batman to track him down. While saving a political prisoner near Ace Chemicals, Bruce hears another shot go off. Batman finds the body surrounded by other inmates, and clearing out the hostiles, Bruce finds the impact of the bullet bounced, meaning this shot had to have been ricocheted to hit the target. Barbara tells him the link she found between the victims. They all worked for Strange's operation at different levels, so Floyd must be cleaning up Strange's mess. Batman follows the path of the ricocheted bullet and scans where Deadshot was laying in the snow, finding some plastic particles left behind. Bruce uses the clues he's found and searches down 3 possible locations for where Deadshot is hiding his stuff. Batman goes to the 3 different locations and eventually finds the substation he was using to store his equipment in, where it contains a couple guns and an encrypted PDA. Batman hacks into the PDA and finds it holds a list of targets as well as a schedule. The next target on the list is Jack Ryder. Batman races to save him. He gets there just in time, making Deadshot miss his shot, which pisses the sharpshooter off immensely. Batman then stalks his way towards Floyd and takes him down from underneath him, stripping him of his guns and locking him in a decommissioned tram. Case closed. This one was a lot of fun if you enjoy the hunt for clues and the added threat of a one-shot kill if Deadshot sees you. Because yes, if he sees you, it doesn't matter how much health you have, how much ballistic armor you have, a single shot will kill you. Which means you need to be quick and you need to be stealthy. And I love that kind of added challenge when you have a single target. Now granted, if we had to take him down several times with a one-shot kill, that would have been egregious. But we don't. It was just a single instance. But I will say, Deadshot's quest is done better in Arkham Knight. Not that this one wasn't done well, this one was done excellently. But, and granted, I have heavy praise for Arkham Knight. A lot of the stuff that was done in Arkham City and Knight is done better in Knight. And I can't wait to get into all of that. But right now we're not covering Arkham Knight, we're covering Arkham City. So, 2 cases left. On to the next one. And this one is my second favorite, as it deals with one of my favorite villains from Batman's extended Rogues Gallery, and it's more detective work, which is my favorite aspect of Batman. Time to get into The Identity Thief. In an alley south of Solomon Wayne Courthouse, Bruce finds another corpse with a bandaged face. Batman identifies the MO, paralyzed vocal cords, and a surgically removed phrase, post-mortem. It's the identity killer. Bruce finds that the killings are meticulous, excellently planned, definitely thought out way ahead of time, as he scans a set of prints on a discarded scalpel. Oracle scans them in, but says they are his prints. She thinks on the case and ponders, what if it is actually Bruce that's doing this? What if he's snapped? Maybe he's been affected by Crane's fear toxin or something, and he's not even aware of what he's doing. Maybe somebody else got to him. But Bruce assures her that it wasn't him. He's not been the one that's been killing these people. But a part of him is shaken. Maybe even he begins to doubt his own mind. Wouldn't have been the first time. Behind the Ace Chemicals building, Bruce finds another body, a third one. He makes notice that the killer is more interested in what he's taking over what he's leaving behind, and finds bleach that was used to destroy the forensic evidence. So he follows the trail to a thug who says that it was Wayne that told him to dump the body, pour bleach down, and cover his tracks. He says Wayne is in an alley room by the courthouse, and Bruce knocks the thug out before going to investigate. Walking into this hidden base of operations, Batman finds a room full of surgical equipment, as well as a voice log from a man named Thomas Elliot, who rambles about his work, equating it to the famous Renaissance artists of Italy. Bruce gets locked into the room as Hush, Thomas Elliot himself, reveals himself. He unwraps his face to reveal it's a perfect replica of Bruce Wayne's, save the scars in between the stitches. He says he's doing this all for revenge. Whether or not Batman will believe it, he doesn't care. He says that the dead people were a necessary price to pay, and he leaves Arkham City as Bruce breaks free. This will be another person that Bruce will have to hunt down another time. With that case closed, this leaves the last side quest that I will be covering, and my favorite of this entire game. After Bruce tells Oracle to close the old file and open a new one for Thomas Elliot with all the data he's collected, sets off with the identity thief killer closed to deal with the last side quest in Arkham City, a Watcher in the Wings. Now this one, I love it. It is simple, it is quick, but it deals with one of my favorite characters who has worked alongside Batman, and he will be starring, I guess you could say, in a story that was written 30 some odd years ago that is now currently getting a new movie, which has my excitement for this character hyped up immensely. So let's get into it. Bruce notices a strange man has been following him, watching him in 5 locations across the city. He finds the first place right outside the courthouse, and it's interesting. Somebody noticed this in a Reddit post, and yeah, his locations, this Watcher, are outside every single place where Batman has saved someone, which probably was a coincidence, but maybe not. Each time Batman approaches the man, he says something cryptic before leaving a symbol on the ground and vanishing. And when scanned, they are all placed on the map from each location where the mysterious Watcher was found. His first location is outside the courthouse, and then the second one is on the Ferris wheel outside the steel mill. Next, he's found across the block from the museum, and the stranger mentions a prophecy that he and his people have been watching for, and that the time is coming. Next, he's found across from the GCPD building, and with this last symbol, Bruce combines them together to create a master sigil. Lining up the circles on the sigil with the different places the stranger has been located, they reveal the 5th place to find the man, right outside the back of the church. Batman goes to this meeting point and finds the man, who reveals himself to be Azrael, the Blade of the Order of St. Dumas. He says a prophecy is coming, where Gotham City will burn, and Batman, in saving Gotham City, will burn with it, leaving the city without its protector. And whether or not Batman believes in prophecy, this will come to pass. And Batman is the last hope that Gotham City has against the coming threat. Which leads directly into the next game that I will cover, Batman Arkham Knight. But with Azrael revealed, and leaving Bruce with that chilling message, finally, we close the case on the Watcher in the Wings and Batman Arkham City. And this game, let me tell you, I love this game. I haven't played it in like 13, 14 years, maybe, somewhere around there. It's been so long since I last played this game, and getting to play it again was an incredibly joyous feeling. I missed this game so much. I missed everything about it. Having access to this game again, being able to play it for you guys, to break it down, to discuss it. Every part of it is excellent, save for the Catwoman sections and the boss fights. The combat, smoother, cleaner. The animation, smoother, cleaner. The music as perfect for Batman as ever. The architecture of the world, a perfect encapsulation of Gotham's lawlessness and its gritty brutalist style. And giving Hugo Strange, being one of the main villains of the game, giving him a spotlight. He's somebody I didn't even know existed until I originally played this game, and I have not seen anything about him since, which kind of makes me want to do a deep dive into him as a character. And if you guys have any, resources you'd love me to check out to help me learn more about Hugo Strange, I'll gladly take it. But yes, this game was incredible. The side quests, all little tidbits of Gotham's rogues, and even leading into the next game, which is going to be quite the debacle to tackle. It's going to be such a big project. This project was already 36 pages. It's probably going to be like 2.5 hours long. I don't know, check the runtime below me. But with that being said, to wrap it all up, incredible gameplay, lackluster boss fights, incredible art direction, incredible story, incredible architecture, incredible characters, and a terrifying city full of criminals that will only get bigger and worse in the next game. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for sitting here and listening to me ramble. If you liked it, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Go check out the other retrospectives I've done. Maybe leave a comment on something I could have done better. Maybe something you wish I'd had covered. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go through and I'll cover all of the Arkham DLCs. But with that being said, Strider Fox out.